1010XL is presented by Farrah and Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 16 minutes of soccer. Call 396-55 Soccer Hour. Jackson, here are your hosts, Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burleigh.
We welcome you in to the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour
with Rick Ballou on 1010XL.
along with Mauricio Ruiz. I'm Cole Pepper. And boy, do we have a bunch to talk about here today, starting with a look ahead to this weekend's Stateside Cup here in Jacksonville. Also, the Olympics getting started on the men's and the women's side. Plus, teams are beginning to jockey for playoff positioning in the USL Championship, and the USL Super League kickoff approaches. Other than that, Mauricio, not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, kind of a boring week for soccer, right? I mean, if you put that in context to what the last month has been, maybe it seems like a little bit of a down, but when you think about, we're about to start. We're less than a month away from kicking off an inaugural USL Super League, which would be a first division women's professional league in this country. That's going to create opportunities for so many young ladies to play and so many other professional opportunities. That's a big deal. We're gonna look back at this time, Cole, of August of 2024 as a pretty big deal as marking women's sports in general around the world, but certainly here in the U.S. and then maybe Sporting Jacks will be a part of that soon enough.
Yeah, in the not-too-distant future. Let's let you know what's cooking with Sporting Jacks here before we dive into some of the other things going on, including the Stateside Cup. We do have a new teammate, Mauricio. We have hired a new director of marketing and brand, David.
Well, I thought it was a right winger that we were hiring.
No. He might
not yet.
He did admit on the Sporting Pod on our podcast that if needed, he could play some goalie. So we may put him in goal and just leave him there. But David Phillips joins us, so we're excited about that. He's been working with ASM and a lot of information and knowledge and experience in dealing with events at the stadium and everything else. So that's going to be very exciting. Local boy makes good. Bartram Trail alum. So glad to have him back here in Jacksonville doing what he's going to do for us. So we're excited about that. That's the sort of the big news on the Sporting Jacks front at this point. So we will be looking forward to introducing you to David as well. You can get a little taste of it on the podcast, as I mentioned, on the Sporting Pod.
It would be nice to know now that we can actually target someone. If you're out there and you're seeing what Sporting Jacks have been doing in the local market and all the things we've been doing it kind of without a director of marketing, right? And now without capable people. We've been consulting a lot. We've gotten a lot of good professionals around it. But we are internally super excited to actually bring someone that can connect the vision, the ethos of the club, the messaging that's going to go out to the community, and to really partner within all the things that we're already activating, but maybe doing it a little bit better.
I was talking with somebody the other day, and they were asking me about what I liked about my job. And so one of the things I really love is that we are on the ground floor. We are building this thing from nothing, and have already started to lay the foundation and put up some studs. And there's a lot of building still to come. Stadium, official kit, first technical director, sporting director, head coach, whatever that position might be, first players, kick off the first game, first season, all those firsts that are still to come. But I love to be on the ground floor to build this thing up. It's been so much fun to navigate what has been it is an expansive vision for Sporting Jacks. Couple weeks from now, several of us will be traveling for different purposes. But so what we're going to do is put together a show that is sort of going to be the crash course in Sporting Jacks, everything Sporting Jacks. We did a little bit for the first show, but we're really going to kind of peel back the curtain and let you know here's what Sporting Jacks is all about and why we're doing it and how we're doing it right now. And that's going to be a fun exercise to go through, but I think it's going to be great, too, for folks to be able to hear that. So that's just a little tease for the future about what we will be doing. Let's look around the USL with what's going on with the USL Championship. The national broadcast schedule continues on Friday as CBS Sports Network brings you the Colorado Springs Switchbacks taking on the Las Vegas Lights at 9 p.m. Las Vegas has been red hot. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Then a week from Wednesday, it's Hartford Athletic hosting Detroit City FC, 7:30 on CBS Sports Network. Then August the 3rd, it's USL on ESPN2 as Sacramento Republic hosts the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's a 10 o'clock start out west. And Sacramento just with a big performance this weekend was something to behold as well. But Mauricio, we're past the halfway part of the season now, and starting to look ahead to what's going on in the future. And one of the things that we are really detailing are the teams that are starting to put it all together. And they're not at the top of the standings, but Las Vegas has been on a tear. This is a team that won, 3 games last year, all of last season? They are unbeaten since May the 25th and continue to climb in the USL Championship standings.
They really have, and they've been kind of slowly coming at it. Beginning of the season, had a couple of decent results, and then they had a streak of some really bad results. That kind of made you question a little bit of how they put their roster together. But looking at them, I mean, they are entirely a brand new roster compared to where they were last year with new ownership, putting some investment into it. And we keep talking about different styles of play around the league. And Vegas is one of those that have decided to take the road of most resistance in the way that you could play, which means play a little bit more sophisticated, more romantic in the way you want to play, more ball control, slower up the field, a little bit more like a Man City type of way, if you would. I'm not comparing them to Man City, but their new owner, Batista, does have a bit of a love affair for Pep Guardiola. Yep. He has said that, and as an owner of the club, he gets to have a say in what the club's going to look like and what the product on the field will look like. So he has hired coaching staff that very much want to bring upon that tiki-taka style of play, but that takes time. And so we're starting to see a little bit of the fruits of that labor kind of mid to the end of the season here.
So here we are. They're 20 games in, 27 points. They are 3 points from third. So that's a win when everybody else doesn't win ahead of them. They're that close to being in third place. Right now, 6th in the West. Are Las Vegas. New Mexico United is on top of the table. They have not lost in their last 4, 3 wins and a draw. They have a 3-point edge. They finally got their goal differential to the positive. They were somehow in negative or even goal differential, now +3, and leading 11 wins on the season for New Mexico United. That's the most in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they really are. And we had a question mark early in the season how New Mexico were going to keep goals out of their own net, because they really put a roster together of a lot of attacking players. They renewed their attacking front, and their front 3 are about as good as anybody in the league right now. But, sometimes, there's a saying that your defense is your best offense. In this case, your offense is your best defense, because they're not leaking a whole lot of goals. They're scoring a good amount of goals. And as you said, 11 wins, that's the most in the West.
All right, let's look at the East real quickly. The teams that are the hottest right now, Charleston Battery have to be among them. Undefeated in their last 5, 3 wins and 2 draws. And they are just a point behind Louisville City as the week opens, 41 points to 40. And those are the 2 highest scoring teams, or at least best goal differential team in the league. Lou City +25, Charleston Battery +23. Battery, of course, went to the finals last year and fell just shy of winning a championship.
Yeah, and you really look at it, it's a 4-team race to the top, but Louisville City and Charleston Battery, they've kind of climbed above. The Rowdies and Indy 11 are sitting 3rd and 4th, and I do think that they can claim some ground, but you're talking about a 6 to 10-point difference between 1st and 4th place. So the Rowdies have a long way to go. They have to hope that Lou City and Charleston Battery, they trip up a little bit here. But I think it's going to be a fun end of the season to Louisville City and Charleston Battery. Battery won the East last year. Louisville City has probably been the most consistent and successful team in the East. So I think it's going to be a fun battle here towards the end.
I will also point out at the tail end of the playoff race, just above the break line there, if you look at the form table, those 2 teams in 7th and 8th, Loudoun United and Rhode Island FC, have not lost in the last combined 10 matches. Rhode Island, 4 wins and a draw. Loudoun, 2 wins and 3 draws. And they have now climbed up into playoff position just past the halfway mark of the year.
Yeah, Rhode Island's a team to be watch out for. Now, they're on the positive side of the record now, where they have 10 ties, which nobody likes a tie. But now they're above 1 wins, 5 wins, only 4 losses. They haven't lost a lot. If you look at the teams at the top of the league, Lou City lost 4 games. Rhode Island only lost 4 games. They tied a bunch of them. They couldn't really capture the win. But as you mentioned, they've won. They're unbeaten the last 5. They're on the roll. They got a really good 3-1 result this past weekend. I think they're a team to watch out for because they put a team together to win in their first year. They're not quite there yet. But if you make the playoff, I don't think anybody wants to see Rhode Island going into the playoffs.
You never know what might happen at that point. Are those sort of some of the key teams to keep an eye on for what's happening around the USL Championship? we do want to offer you an opportunity to win a pair of tickets to the Stateside Cup. So stay tuned for that. We'll tell you how to do that. But Stateside Cup comes up on Saturday at Everbank Stadium. Wolves and West Ham. I saw some video from West Ham as they landed in Florida down in Miami. They've got this huge bus. Did you see the video?
I haven't, no.
A huge bus with it's like a big travel bus or a tour bus, and on top of it, there's this huge it looks like a T-shirt cannon on steroids, but it's a bubble machine. So they're driving down the road, the bubbles are coming out. So there's no doubt that West Ham is having some fun coming to the United States for the Stateside Cup. Wolves will also be finding their way here, and we're looking forward to later this week catching up with some of those folks in advance of Saturday's matchup. Wolves and West Ham, again, these are two teams, Mauricio, that I think have aspirations to climb from the mid-table in the Premier League as the season approaches here in the Prem later on in August. But certainly a couple of clubs that have deep history and should be a very entertaining game to see at Everbank Stadium.
Well, certainly West Ham in recent form. I mean, they won that playoff European qualifier, that new league that's in Europe. But they're a team. They finished top 4 before. They finished top 6. In the Prem. They think they consider themselves like of an Aston Villa sort, of a Brighton sort, and those teams have been up there. And so I think I would consider them. I mean, today Everton needs to be in that realm. Obviously, we know what's going on there, and hopefully they're climbing. No direct shots at anybody personally listening, but West Ham, I would suggest that most people consider West Ham in that top 8 club that at any given point, given a good season as they had a couple years ago when they had Declan Rice in that group. But I think it's a team going through a bit of an identity change with David Moyes, and after they lost Rice, they brought in some players. I think it'll be interesting to see what West Ham looks like this year. And I think Wolves is one of those teams, as we didn't see the rise of Brighton a few years back. Yeah. I think Wolves is one of those teams that they've kind of been slowly climbing. They had a couple good years. They finished mid-table in 14th last year. I just hope for a really good, entertaining game. 2 top-level Premier teams. A lot of players that played in Copa. A lot of players that played in the Euro Cup. I think it'd be fun to see them here in Jacksonville.
Before that game kicks off at 7, at 5 o'clock in the Flex Field right next to Everbank Stadium, there is a youth clinic that you'll be a part of with Wolves and West Ham legends, as well as some local coaches who will be putting on a youth clinic for kids aged 4 to 18.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It's something that we've done before, and we're going to do it again previous to a Jaguars game later, and we'll announce this. But we've done it before, and the idea is to get local kids that are coming to the game to watch and support, soccer in the city, but get to have a little bit of fun afterwards. Rather than do it in the parking lot and a tailgating, come inside the Flex Field. It is air-conditioned. It is covered. You can't say that enough here in Jacksonville. and there'll be some Wolves legends, former coaches and players. There'll be some West Ham legends as well, former coaches and players. An opportunity for players to do a walkout on the field also. We're looking and filling some of those spots as we go. But just a really fun time to get 40, 50-plus kids to get to train a little bit before the game, right before they go and actually watch top-level football.
Going to be a great opportunity there. You can find tickets for that if you have a kid who's a soccer player who wants to experience that. The clinic and a ticket to the game are $65 together. And then if you are accompanying your kid, which we hope you will, $55, and you can go to sportingjacks.com to the events tab to find information and a link to buy the tickets for this weekend's matchup. Now, you can also win a couple of tickets to the Stateside Cup if you email us with who you want to be the next U.S. men's national team coach. Just give me your prediction, and anybody who emails us, we will put you in a hat and draw it out. Doesn't have to be right because it won't be hired probably before Saturday, but we will make that an opportunity for you if you email us at contest@sportingjacks.com, contest@sportingjacks.com, with your pick to be the next U.S. men's national team coach, and one of you will win a pair of tickets to Saturday's Stateside Cup at Everbank Stadium. All right, the big story in soccer right now has to be the Olympics starting up. But it has been such a summer of soccer. We keep talking about it, but Copa America, the Euro Championships, and now we flow right into the Olympics with the U.S. men playing the host team France on Wednesday at 3, and the women facing Zambia Thursday at 3. The women is the full national team. The men is mostly a U23 team plus 3 older players that can be designated, including one of whom is Jordy Mihailovic, who's from Jacksonville. His dad coached at JU, so he'll be one of the older veteran players. He plays for Colorado Rapids in MLS, but a great opportunity for Jordy to take part in that. So it's tough to see what the rankings really are. And this is not Kylian Mbappe and company for France. It's the U23s. Still a very good side. They're expected to do well in this tournament. On the women's side, again, we mentioned the U.S. is ranked 5th now, down to 5th after their World Cup performance. Zambia is now ranked 64th, which is the highest ranking that country has ever had. So, interesting opening match for the U.S.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see Zambia continue to climb, especially after these Olympics. They have some really top-level players that are coming through. Harsh drop from the U.S. after one World Cup, debacle. It wasn't good, but that's a harsh drop. I think we've seen that on the men's side not have as big of an impact when you lose a World Cup game. But I think the biggest news on the women's soccer is a new era of Coach Emma Haynes. We've had, it's an international coach. We know her pedigree. Coached at Chelsea, super successful on the club level. Has coached in the U.S. previously, but has never coached a international side before. So a lot of expectations to get the ship, right the ship here in the U.S. and kind of get us back to predominant and dominant, program around the world. But world football is closing the gap on the men's and on the women's side, and I think we see the gap on the women's side with the Netherlands and with Holland, and you see emerging countries like Zambia. I don't think it's as easy. I think our U.S. women will see, similar to what top-level men have seen before, countries like Brazil and others, the gap is closed. And I think women's soccer have to continue to focus on development and programming to make sure that they don't get passed by other emerging countries.
I'll just point out, I'm kind of looking at the tracking for the U.S. If you look at world ranking over time, you can go back, a long, long way. Let's start with June of 2017, when they regained the number 1 ranking after having dropped down to 2nd. Ever since, from then until June of last year, the U.S. Number 1 in women's soccer in the entire world, then dropped down to 3rd, back up to 2nd, and then between March and June, what's happened since then, 4th and then 5th. So maybe something to be proven by the U.S. here. Again, the bigger goal is to build toward the World Cup.
Right.
For the women, but something to be proved here, and a gold medal would certainly go a long way.
It really would, and just to give reference, it's a shorter roster, right? They could only bring in, it's 16 players, 18 in total, so only 16 field players, so you don't have as much depth as maybe you like. A lot of big names that were dropped, that were not called into this, that probably would have been called if it was a full 23 or 26, women roster. But absolutely, no one's going to care about that, right? The expectation of women's soccer here in this country is that you win Olympic gold medals, that you win World Cups. We just had a phase that didn't happen, and now, I think there's an expectation. We just had a couple of friendlies, not to take much away from the friendlies. We tied Costa Rica,
1-0 against Mexico.
1-0 against Mexico. But I think when the lights are on, and you're gonna see that opening game against Zambia, they will not take Zambia lightly. They will not look at the ranking because they have some difference makers that can make you pay if you're not if you're not prepared.
Just to give the other point of this, if you go back in the FIFA World Rankings, if you go back for women to 2003 rather, the United States had only been 1st or 2nd in the entire time since 2003, up until falling to 3rd in August of last year. Then back up to 2nd, and now lowest point ever in these rankings in the last
if you can call it an underdog, I think we might be going into this tournament as a bit of an underdog.
I was going to say, you can bring a little bit of a chip on your shoulder as a result. And we'll see what kind of impact. Again, Emma Hayes, if she doesn't lead the United States to a gold medal, there's not going to be the same kind of noise in the system as there was for, say, Greg Berhalter and the pressure on him in Copa America. But you'd like to see a performance, at least get to the into the medal round and play for a gold in the finals. I feel like that would be a minimum expectation for me. And we're just starting to write the story of Emma Hayes as the U.S. women's national team coach after she was such a successful coach on the club side with Chelsea. So that will be coming up here, and we'll be keeping a close eye on what happens with both the men and the women there as well. Also want to give a quick shout-out to the Carolina Courage, who won the USL USLW League Championship. That is the sort of the U23 pre-professional league that is associated with the USL. And we had talked about Florida Elite, who was the number one ranked team at one point in the nation there. So I think a lot of the players who played for Florida Elite, played for Carolina Courage, and some others are going to be some of the young players you'll see in the USL Super League in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and that's the differentiator that the USL has. It actually has a pathway, a complete pathway all the way from youth to pro. And that under 23, they have one program even below that, that's the under 20. But the under 23, it's a great opportunity for local clubs, local professional clubs, as Sporting Jacks, as you mentioned, Carolina Courage, to test out a couple local high-level players, potential players, into an older age group before you push them all the way into the pro. They may not be ready yet. But if there's a local 16-year-old that you're in their car now, you're driving around, there's an opportunity for you to be seen by your local staff, for you to be put into the fire and get tested against college-level players, potentially some older players that have the aspirations to play pro. That's what that under-23 summer team, that goes on from May all the way to now to July when they got crowned champions. So we'll be looking to implement that program here in North Florida in the next 12 months or so. So look out for information on that. On the men's side, that league is called the USL League 2. Similar setup. On the women's side is the W League. And as you mentioned, Florida League this year, for the majority of the year, was ranked number one or two in the country. I think their goal differential was something ridiculous.
It's over 60. It was plus 60 something.
I had never seen that before. So really, really good team there. Some really good top-level players. And that's the aspiration that we have here in the city to create more programming like that to identify local talent.
All right, let's remind you that you can become a member of Sporting Jacks. It's absolutely free. Just go to sportingjacks.com. You get discounts on club merchandise, invitations to VIP events, chances to win prizes and experiences. And while you're there, you can put down your deposit for season tickets if you so desire. $25 for the men's team or the women's team, $40 for both. And you get a founding member pin as one of the early adopters for Sporting Jacks. When we come back, we'll check in with Becky Burleigh, talk about some of the big moves made in the USL Super League recently, some major players being brought into the league. We'll talk about that, as well as more talk about what the U.S. can do in the Olympics. That's straight ahead as the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour continues right here on 1010XL.
The Green Bay Packers.
This is Hall of Famer Jerry Kramer. Has a nice ring, doesn't it?
They won their fourth under Vince Lombardi.
And you are listening to 1010XL.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Do it with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Hey there, this is Jeremy Baker inviting you to Grace Note Brewing. We're a brand new music-themed, family-friendly craft brewery that specializes in offering something for everyone, whether that's the Jam ESB, the Berry-Tone Fruited Sour, or the Enharmonic IPA. We are located at the Sadler Point Marina, underneath the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega. You can even get to us by boat. Come check us out in person and stay tuned through social media at Grace Note Brewing. Cheers, everyone.
Prosser here. As you may or may not know by now, I did the research and decided to go with Jack's Concrete Coatings for my garage floor. OMG, as the kids would say. I can't begin to tell you how good it looks, how happy we are. We brag on it anytime someone walks in the garage. They had the job finished in one day with a lifetime warranty. That's right. As the certified Pintech dealer for North Florida, the only company offering pure polyurea, I can't wait to do my patio deck next. Call 862-2000. That's the number, 862-2000, or jacksconcretecoatings.com.
Hello, sports fans. Hicken here. Let's talk skin. Iron Beach's Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen. If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Hi, this is Dale Murray with Murray Automotive Group in Stark and Kingsland. Save yourself from those big city dealers and their fast-talking flim-flam tactics. No matter what your automotive need is, we've got you covered. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and nobody beats our prices, and I mean nobody. Shazam! Plus our exclusive 15-year, 150,000-mile warranty included on every qualified vehicle. And we'll trade anything from AirPods to fishing rods. Compare our prices online at ShazamAuto.com. Then come see me, Dale Murray. I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
Give us your hot take.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
On the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm awake and I speak English, so yeah, I do know what you're saying.
Be part of the conversation. 641-1010.
International soccer returns this summer. Don't miss your chance to see teams from the biggest league in the world in Jacksonville as they compete for their first trophy of the season, the Stateside Cup. Be there when Premier League clubs Wolves and West Ham take the pitch July 27th at Everbank Stadium, home of the Jaguars. With the series trophy on the line, competition will be fierce. Tickets on sale now for as low as $35. Buy your tickets today at statesidecup.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour on 1010XL AM.
We welcome you back, Sporting Jack Soccer Hour. Cole Temper, Mauricio Ruiz. It is now our privilege and pleasure to welcome in Becky Burleigh, the first ever soccer coach for women's soccer at Florida. Won a national championship there, won a couple other national championships prior. And always great to talk soccer with Becky. Becky, how are you today?
Love being with you guys. Happy to be here today.
Well, we have seen some huge moves in the USL Super League of late. Some players playing for, the England national team and playing for Tottenham. That was one, Chioma Ubogagu, who was signed by Dallas. Fort Lauderdale signed Shania Gordon, who was playing in the French First Division. She's a Floridian coming back home. And then Tampa Bay adding the former Gator goalkeeper, Kaylin Marquesi, who'd been at Arsenal and Bristol City. I mean, there is these are significant signings to be coming in for a league that's kicking off in less than a month.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty cool because I think it's what USL gave the opportunity for is for people who are playing abroad to come back and play domestically. And I think that's actually really cool for the league because we're getting some super experienced players. But more importantly, it's just really cool for those players to be able to come home.
Becky, we haven't talked enough about this, but I think me and you have spoken offline on some of the setup of the USL and how they're setting up contracts, minimum payments, guaranteed contracts, terms of them. Can you speak a little bit about how that differentiates from normally what happens in women's football and football in general to a certain extent, but certainly the difference that the USL Super League is creating opportunities for professionals to take a chance and to invest into themselves?
Yeah, I think it's what I really, really like about what's happening right now is that we're getting an opportunity for people to come back, play in their domestic place. Also, more importantly, we're seeing these teams build themselves up with both domestic talent and international talent. And what I think is going to happen with that is as this league continues to grow, we're just going to continue to see the level rise. We're in year one and we're seeing these amazing signings. Imagine what it's going to be like 5 years from now.
Yeah, and we've talked about you can look 5 years down the road or you can look a couple of months down the road because as soon as the international break comes in December and you're going to have some players who maybe are playing NWSL or they're playing in other leagues who are going to have it's almost like a second round of signings or a mid-season free agency in some regard. I think it's going to be so intriguing to me to see what kind of moves are made by teams at that point because that will have given, August, September, October, November, 4.5 months of assessing your team. Now you know what you need and where you're strong, where you're not, and we could see even more player movement over the holidays.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think that's the huge advantage of being on that international calendar, right? It allows for people who are in different places to be able to make those moves at that time. With any startup situation, there is a little bit of guesswork involved because you just don't know, not necessarily the talent level, but how those pieces are going to fit together. And that's the thing that you can only find out through a little bit of time being spent with each other and playing matches and training.
You talk about figuring out how it fits together on the field. There's also something about how it fits together in the business of soccer, and we're starting to see that start to sort of show itself. We saw the first player come in on a domestic loan last week. Kansas City Current of the NWSL loaned midfielder Sophie Braun to the Spokane Zephyr through the rest of the NWSL season. The fact that that's happening domestically on a loan, I mean, you see that a lot of times in, you follow the Premier League, and you might have a player, on loan from Chelsea to, Luton Town or something like that, where it's within the same league. Sometimes it's to a championship side. Interesting how this is starting to develop from a business standpoint and that sort of interplay between the two leagues.
Yeah, I think that's going to actually be really interesting. I actually love the fact that the NWSL is going to loan some players to USL, and I think that could go in the opposite direction at some point as this league evolves. Mm-hmm. But what I think is happening with it right now is that these USL players or these NWSL players get into a USL environment, and they get to kind of compare the environment and see what they like about it. And to me, there's just a lot to like about the USL environments, including the calendar, including the guaranteed contracts, things like that, that I think people are going to just learn more about as this league evolves.
So what's your expectation, what the league and the quality of the product on year one is going to look like? You've seen not just NWSL, not just Super League, but other leagues have been formed from its infancy. The difference between, you're looking at the signings, some high-level signings, but it's going to take time, right? What's your expectation of what the identity of the league?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, you cannot compare a league that's been in existence for 10-plus years to a league that's a startup. But at the same time, I think if you look at the starting point for each of these leagues, that's where it gets pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure, and obviously looking with a particular viewpoint from a Sporting Jacks standpoint to see what the competition is going to look like once Sporting Jacks jumps into the league. Let's turn our attention to the Olympics. We mentioned U.S. beat Mexico 1-0, drew with Costa Rica 0-0 in the warm-up friendlies. Not exactly riveting competition in some regards, but there's a lot that goes behind the scenes in terms of the time that Emma Hayes has with the roster and forming that, and not necessarily just the games, but the practice sessions and the training that they have together getting ready for the Olympics. What are your expectations for this team as the Olympics unfold?
It's an interesting question because you're right. It wasn't like overwhelming results in those two matches. However, there were overwhelming opportunities in the last match. And I think that's where the focus has got to be is, are we creating opportunities to finish? And now the last step is finishing. And I think anybody who's been in soccer for any length of time knows that playing against a low block is the hardest part. And I think Emma was even quoted as saying is like, hey, that's the last step when you get to the finishing point against a low block. And she's right. I mean, it's challenging, but at the same time, if you look at the numbers and literally the data is showing that they're creating more quality opportunities, I think that's a huge step in the right direction.
So $1 million question, what is success for Emma Hayes and for the U.S. Women's National Team in this Olympics?
That's a really good question. If you're asking from a fan perspective, I'm not sure that anybody takes anything other than gold. If you're asking for like a soccer person who's watching this thing evolve, I think it really comes down to less about outcomes, although, a certain level of outcomes is certainly expected. But at the same time, it's more about, what does this team look like going forward? Like, what is our game model? What is our style of play? How do we show cohesion? Like, all the things that are markers of great teams, are we moving in the right direction with that?
Yeah, it's hard to take that perspective when you have an expectation of being, number one, even though we mentioned the rankings, now the U.S. down to 5th in the FIFA World Rankings. The expectation is still to come home with the gold, but this is a longer process. I mean, this is the not even the first cycle; it's the first step in the first cycle with a new coach. So Sometimes you look for those kind of milestones rather than the results. Of course, you'd like to have milestones and results at the same time, but we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, we want it all as fans for sure. But I think there's a realism to it too. But you can't remove the expectations from American soccer. It's just part of who we are and our identity. Now the question is can we get a little bit of both and be a little bit reasonable at the same time? Yeah,
you wouldn't want to remove those expectations either. That's part of what makes the U.S. Women's National Team what it's all about. So it's in the DNA. So you wouldn't want to try to take that out at all. Becky, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great.
That's Becky Burleigh who joins us. Now we want to hear from the most decorated high school soccer coach in the area as part of our youth soccer look. Mike Pickett at St. John's Country Day has won 14 state championships. He's churned out I don't know how many college players, a couple of U.S. national team players, including his daughter Carson, who's played with the U.S. national team, now playing for Racing Louisville. And this past week I caught up with him at his North Florida Soccer Academy, where he had about 80 high school and college kids there working in preparation for the upcoming season.
Well, this is a full-time group, so we have these kids 8 months out of the year. The only time we take a break is high school. With our college kids back in town, we started off the session with a college fitness test, because they're preparing to go into college. So it's a good picture for our younger kids to see what they're striving to be and what they're going to have to do to play at the next level. And then for our college kids, it's a great opportunity for them to prepare for what they're about to see in 3 weeks.
You go around town, and we've been doing these features, and you see everything from 4-year-olds up, where some camps really focus on particular skills, and some are focusing on sort of the mental side of the game as much as the physical. Is there a focus for you here?
The whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to mentally prepare these kids that the next level is very difficult. And so the mental component of being competitive and being positive towards your team and trying to make everyone around you better is a big point of emphasis for us. And then obviously the technical, we start off every session with 30 to 45 minutes of technical. You could see our rondo that we were doing, tight space, quick speed of play, first touch, away from pressure. So we're trying to hit everything we can. For our younger group, it's catching them up. Some of them are behind. And then with our college group, it's just fine-tuning and getting them back to speed of play.
A lot of this looks a lot like what you do with the high school team, too, just from philosophically. I mean, this is sort of right in your sweet spot about, the way you think.
Absolutely.
You got to get kids prepared.
75 balls, everybody's touching a ball, no one's sitting around not touching a ball. So for 90 minutes, our sessions are 90 minutes from start to end, designed to be the length of a game. We don't believe in training for 2.5 hours when the kids are going to play for 90 minutes. So everything's based on the game. And once we start, they take their water bottles with them. We don't take water breaks. They can get water in between a rep. If they're sitting out for a second, as you saw in our rondos, there's not a lot of sitting around. So the idea is that we train for 90 minutes. They're touching the ball as much as they can for 90 minutes. Our goal is to get between 700 and 1,000 touches, depending on what the focus of the session's on.
I think Cellini said something the other day about, just be out there touching the ball all the
That's
time. That's such a big component of it, and we see it in other sports. Basketball comes right to mind, where you see a kid who just always has the ball in his hands. That's what it takes to have the ball at your feet all the time, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you don't love the ball, if you're not comfortable in the ball, then this is a very difficult sport. If you're spending all your time playing scared and you don't want the ball and you're just kicking the ball, well then you're not going to be a great soccer player. So you have to love the ball and respect the ball and understand when to keep it and when to get rid of it. One of our focuses is movement off the ball. One of the issues with girls soccer is they pass and do a lot of standing. So we're trying to get them to think 2-3 passes ahead. Where's the ball? Where should I be? Is the thought.
A lot of these college players who are getting ready to go back, are they're not quite in mid-season form, but they're trying to get there. You mentioned the younger kids being able to see where they are right now. That has to be very instructive for them.
It is. It's such a great, when you can see the picture of where you're trying to get to, it's a much more achievable goal, because you are seeing kids who are actually in the college level. They can speak to them. We have the college girls talk to them about things that they can expect to see that they weren't prepared for, maybe something that shocked them. we try to touch on everything, but every program is different. So it's interesting to hear their feedback towards the younger kids. And so for our younger kids, it's a home run. They're being able to train at a high level. They're seeing training at a high level, and so they know what the picture looks like. And so it's them just going out, journaling after every session is a must. All of our kids have a journal, and they've got a journal every day. What did I do well today? What do I need to improve? And what did I learn new today? It takes them 2 or 3 minutes, but now they're taking control of their journey. It's not parent-driven. It's not coach-driven. It's inner-driven. And so we want them to watch as much soccer. We just had 62 games on between Copa and the Euros. And every day we talked about, here's the schedule. Make sure you watch. Send it in our group chat. Send notes in the group chat. Pick someone out. Tell us what they did well. What did they do that you thought they could have done better. So we're trying to get them totally engulfed in the sport and understand that if you want to become a really high-level player, you need to watch soccer. You need to watch a college that you're interested in. Don't just blindly pick one and say, I think I'll go to North Carolina. If you've never seen them play and know their style of play, it may not fit your strengths. So you got to find the right spot to go and play.
So from the similar point, when Carson's back here, there's another level.
Last week.
She was back last week?
She was here for, they're on an international break right now, so she was here for 3 days.
And so for the college kids, there's the next level up for to learn from.
Absolutely, and she was able to come out and speak and do some training with the girls last week and do some coaching for us, which is invaluable for us. For her, playing at the highest level and to be able to tell them what they need to be able to do is awesome.
From that standpoint, what kind of an impact do you think it will be to have a pro women's team in town?
I can't wait. I'm excited because it's going to give another wave of kids the opportunity to live the dream. And there's so many good players in America and, kids from our area that I'm hoping will have an opportunity. Whereas they may not get a spot in NWSL. It's very difficult in NWSL. There's very few spots. The draft is very small, and the percentages, I think, in Carson's class, she's now in her 9th year, so it's been a while, but there's only like 3 players still playing. And so out of the 44 that were drafted in her class, there's only three or four of them still playing. So it's very difficult to maintain and last. A lot of it has to do with finances and do I stay injury free and how's my mental health, and because it's a grind. There are no days off. She had 2 or 3 days off last week, and we went on vacation, and she's back to the grind today. So but it's great. I hope that our kids get involved. I hope that our city drops the colors of their club and that we become united and that we get everybody out there, because it's not about our clubs or my program or anyone else's program. This is about our city, and we've tried it so many times and failed because we've had those barriers and those hurdles that we can't seem to get over. It's time for us to put our colors down and put on one color and support this program.
There's Mike Pickett, certainly passionate about the game. We know that. A great teacher of the game, and a guy who, it's amazing, and we discussed this a little bit today. A year and a half ago, he was named the best women's or girls high school soccer coach in America by Max Preps. You can argue about whether this guy or that guy is the best, but if you're being considered in that category, and his resume certainly says he should be, that's high praise.
It is, and what I love about what Coach Pickett is doing is really what we need to focus more, and we talked about this on our TV show, Cole, is development of players, right? Yeah, winning is super important, and there's a place in the development where winning becomes the priority in the older ages, and you want to institute those principles earlier in the process too, but not as the main priority. Coach Pickett knows exactly where to place the winning, the competitiveness, but not to overdo it. And he also knows what program what he's building for. He's building players for college. He's trying to give them an opportunity at different levels. Not all of them are going to top-level colleges, as UNC and Alabama and so forth and so on. He knows how to guide them to be successful in an environment that they're actually going to be successful in, not to set them up for failure. And he's, as you mentioned, he's been doing it for over 20-something years. He's seen players go from program to college to the pros, come back around, reinvest in the ladies in his own program. So there's a lot of credibility there. But all of his players, I think probably the biggest stat, and I don't know the numbers for it, but I know talking to him, he can validate it. When they go, they're successful. It's not that they go and bounce back. And a lot of environments, sometimes you go because you place them there, maybe because they had a couple of the tools. But his players have the majority of the tools, but they have an open mindset that they still need to get better. So that's where they stay.
Yeah, the next one maybe Sydney Schmidt, who has represented the United States in some of the U17 and maybe a U20.
U16, I believe.
U16,
yeah,
what-
U16 is the last, yeah.
Anyways, and she plays there at St. John's Country Day, and he just keeps churning them out. Since he took over as the head coach there, he has averaged a state championship more than every other year. I think it's 26 years and 14 state championships. Just unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish there. Speaking of the TV show, you can check out the Sporting Jacks Report Wednesday at noon on ABC 25 with re-airings Saturday at noon. We will be taking a couple of weeks off during the Olympics, so after this week's show, we'll take a couple of weeks off, no shows, and we'll be coming back on August the 14th after Saturday's airing. Again, as we mentioned, Mauricio and I will be doing a little traveling separately, but I'm not against traveling together. But
I didn't get the invite, so
yeah.
I sorted out my own trip.
Yeah, well, maybe next time. Play your cards right. We'll see how it works out. And we look forward to that. So you can also reserve your seat with Sporting Jacks by placing your season ticket deposits now. Just go to sportingjacks.com. $25 reserves your season ticket for the men's or women's team, and $40 reserves spots for both seasons. Just go to sportingjacks.com now to reserve your spot for the inaugural seasons. When we come back, we take a look at a big move in the TV world in soccer and what it means to locals, plus a look ahead to the Premier League that kicks off August the 16th. That's all straight ahead as we continue on right here on the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour on 1010XL.
Wherever you go, we go.
Those are the rules. I didn't make them up.
Download the 1010XL and XL 92.5 FM apps for free on Apple and Android devices to listen anywhere in the world.
It may be the key to the whole plan. You get it?
Got it.
Good.
Hey there, folks. If you're like me and love some good quality barbecue, then look no further than the Bearded Pig. Whether it's some juicy pulled pork, succulent spare ribs, or their award-winning Texas brisket, no one beats the Bearded Pig. With 2 locations to serve you in San Marco and Jax Beach, the Bearded Pig is the spot for lunch with friends, dinner with your family, or a great happy hour featuring their signature backyard pigtails. So come in today for the best barbecue in Jacksonville. And don't forget that homemade banana pudding.
Anytime you've got major plumbing problems, and even the minor ones, there's several potential causes, and they usually can't be easily detected. So don't guess at a solution. Hire Roland Reese Plumbing at plumbingjacksonville.com.
Former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org.
Expert Automotive is ready to keep you cool this summer. Right now, get an AC inspection or a system cooling checkup. Your choice for only $19.99. Their gift to you this summer is $50 off any service and a free tire rotation with any service. Their ASE certified technicians can keep your car cool without breaking the bank this summer. Call them at 374-3373 to get an appointment today. Expert Automotive. They never sell greed, only what you need.
Greetings from Jacksonville, the flip side of Florida. Here, you'll find flip-flops and cowboy boots, sushi and soul food, surfers and skaters, Mozart and monster trucks, beachgoers and townies. Find art galleries and city murals, funky neighborhoods, and historic districts. Spend the day on the river or at the beach, in the park or on the trail, at the game or on the green. On the flip side, anything is possible, except running out of things to do. Learn more at visitjacksonville.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 22nd, 1923, Washington Senators future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Walter Johnson becomes the first to reach 3,000 career strikeout milestone.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, it's 60 minutes of soccer. The Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour on 1010XL AM.
We welcome you back to Sporting Jack Soccer Hour here on 1010XL. A heads up, next week we'll be back here on Monday. Then the following week, August the 6th, we'll be moving to Tuesday evening at 6 here on 1010 AM as some Jaguars programming comes into play as the Jags get the training camp underway. So we'll be starting August the 6th on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock here on 1010 a.m. So we've got some things here to look forward to in the month of August. We've been talking about some of them with the USL Super League launching and sort of the playoff chase kicking into high gear in the USL Championship. Also, the Premier League kicks off August the 16th. That is a Friday with one match. Man U hosting Fulham as the opener, the kickoff game of the season, with Shad Khan's club taking on perhaps the most storied club in English soccer in Manchester United. The following day, 6 more matches kick in, and so there are Saturday and Sunday matches as normal there for that opening weekend. But I thought it was interesting that Man U and Fulham are the lid lifter.
Yeah, it really is. Especially, they've doubled down on Erik ten Hag at Man U, and they've given him the resources to continue to build what he, what he inherited, I guess, a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was their lowest position. I know they finished the year winning the FA Cup, so that really helped, especially doing it over their noisy neighbors next, and so I think that gave him a little bit of credit and a little bit of extended time. But they seem to be doubling down on him. Let's see what Man U, because it is better for the league when Man U, probably a lot of people are going to hate me saying this, but it's better for the NFL and the Cowboys are doing well, right? It's better for college basketball when Michigan is doing well. Then there's some historic names that you really want. It just raises everybody else. And I think when Man U is doing well, for that rivalry, for everything else that kind of comes along with it.
All right, the other games on the opening weekend on Saturday, Ipswich Town, promoted, will take on Liverpool, first match without Jurgen Klopp. Arsenal and Wolves. We'll see Wolves, of course, on Saturday here. Everton and Brighton in a matchup of teams that sort of have switched their placements within the sort of collective thought from not that long ago. Brighton has had a very good run here of late. Newcastle and Southampton, and Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth will be the other match, along with West Ham and Aston Villa on Saturday. Then the Sunday matches, Brentford hosting Crystal Palace, Chelsea and Man City. That will be a game to keep an eye on. Then Leicester hosting Tottenham.
Those are great games, and you're right. All eyes will be on Chelsea and Man City, especially Chelsea once again. New manager in Enzo Maresca, and let's see how many signings are going to keep coming. And the fun thing is that you can catch a little bit of a glimpse on all of these teams. Many of them are playing friendlies here in the U.S. So I think City and Barcelona will be playing in Orlando nearby here at the end of the month. So there's tons of opportunities to see some of these new signings that all these EPL teams are having. And a lot of them, those mid-table teams you mentioned, Brighton, Fulham, West Ham, Wolves, they've made their way over to the U.S. as well. So you get a chance to see those also.
And no doubt about that. That'll be something to watch. All right, the other topic I wanted to tackle here is that CBS which has really been diving into soccer headlong, has secured the rights for the EFL, the English Football League. So that's anything below the Premier League. That's the Championship, League One, and League Two, as well as the rights to Serie A in Italy. So the EFL rights in particular are interesting to me because the Championship is a great league to watch. I mean, tremendous soccer, great clubs with deep history, ardent fan bases. The level of play is very high. And then you've also got League One that suddenly is way more interesting, with Wrexham earning promotion up to League One, and then lumping League Two into that as well. There is going to be access to more good soccer, international soccer, in the United States than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, and I love this fight between networks, right? Because now it's like, well, who has what, and there's a bit of a split. Obviously, NBC and Peacock, they have the Prem, but the divisions underneath, now CBS, Paramount Plus have it. Then Peacock has the Super League, and there's a split between the Championship and MLS with Apple TV. I mean, it's become real business now, right? And I think that's kind of when you start seeing the investment in U.S. soccer. It's when TV rights really start kind of blowing up and they see those dollar signs. And I love that move for Serie A because that's where a lot of our American-based players that are playing international, not all of them, a lot in the Bundesliga, some of them in the Prem, but a lot of them are playing Serie A right now. So it's an opportunity for us to see our upcoming American players also.
Right at the top of the list, of course, Christian Pulisic. Right. And we'll see a number of other players, some of whom are playing a lot, some of whom are playing a little. But Serie A, again, you from year to year, you can decide which is playing the higher level of soccer of those big five leagues. It's between England, Germany, France, Spain, and Italy. Those are the top five almost every year at this point. I I think the Premier League at this point certainly is we know it's the most popular in the United States.
Sure.
It gets the most eyeballs. But where the money is being spent is usually where the players will go. And I think the NBC money has impacted what's happening there with the Premier League, a lot of American ownership as well. We're starting to see a little bit of American money go into other leagues, though, and we'll see how that starts to develop the viewership. But you're right.
And a lot into the lower leagues as well.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
That aren't announced yet or we don't know in the tip of our tongue, but there's a lot of lower league American ownership.
Yeah, and so it is being spread around the world. There's no doubt about it. Soccer continues to grow around the world, here in the United States, and right here in Jacksonville as well. And we will continue to keep you updated on what's going on here with Sporting Jacks right here on the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour, also on TV, on ABC 25 and First Coast News Plus with the Sporting Jacks Report. And once again, anywhere you find your favorite podcasts, you can sign up for to subscribe to the Sporting Pod, where we really go behind the scenes with what's going on with the club. It is going to be a very interesting rest of the year on that show, to be sure. My thanks to Becky Burleigh for joining us today, Mike Pickett, Casey Dobson at the controls. For Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour. We'll talk to you next Monday right here on 1010XL.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Hey there, this is Jeremy Baker inviting you to Grace Note Brewing. We're a brand new music-themed, family-friendly craft brewery that specializes in offering something for everyone, whether that's the Jam ESB, the Berry Tone Fruited Sour, or the Enharmonic IPA. We are located at the Sadler Point Marina, underneath the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega. You can even get to us by boat. Come check us out in person and stay tuned through social media at Grace Note Brewing. Cheers, everyone.
Hi, this is Dale Murray with Murray Automotive Group in Stark and Kingsland. Save yourself from those big city dealers and their fast-talking flim-flam tactics. No matter what your automotive need is, we've got you covered. Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and nobody beats our prices, and I mean nobody. Shazam! Plus our exclusive 15-year, 150,000-mile warranty included on every qualified vehicle. And we'll trade anything from AirPods to fishing rods. Compare our prices online at ShazamAuto.com. Then come see me, Dale Murray. I'll be waiting for you. Shazam!
When the sun goes down, you might think a golf course shuts down, but not at the Golf Club of Southampton. Join the gang every Thursday night for trivia with Brooke and Jason, and everybody's favorite night, Friday night on the patio, featuring local musicians, food, and drink. It's all at the Golf Club of Southampton. Great golf. You've come to expect that. But don't forget, when night falls, the fun doesn't stop. Trivia every Thursday night and Southampton's live music patio session Fridays. Call 287-PLAY to make a tee time and the good time.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach.
Hurricane season on the First Coast can leave you in the dark, so why not get a head start on storm season with a home generator system from American Electrical? They've sold and installed more generators in Jacksonville than any other company around, with scores of whole home generator installations throughout North Florida. That's right, American Electrical has been installing and repairing thousands of generators for over a decade in Duval. Keep your loved ones and property protected. Log on to American-Electrical.com and see how they can help you.
I'm Taylor Rose with our Remedy Staffing Westside office off of Normandy Boulevard. We are helping great people find great jobs. Remedy has helped some of the best employers in Jacksonville find talented job seekers like you for over 25 years. Our current job openings range from entry-level distribution center pickers to equipment operators. Apply today at remedygoodjobs.com. Don't wait. Apply at remedygoodjobs.com now.
International soccer returns this summer. Don't miss your chance to see teams from the biggest league in the world in Jacksonville as they compete for their first trophy of the season, the Stateside Cup. Be there when Premier League clubs Wolves and West Ham take the pitch July 27th at Everbank Stadium, home of the Jaguars. With the series trophy on the line, competition will be fierce. Tickets on sale now for as low as $35. Buy your tickets today at StatesideCup.com.
Hey there, folks. If you're like me and love some good quality barbecue, then look no further than the Bearded Pig. Whether it's some juicy pulled pork, succulent spare ribs, or their award-winning Texas brisket, No one beats the Bearded Pig. With 2 locations to serve you in San Marco and Jax Beach, the Bearded Pig is the spot for lunch with friends, dinner with your family, or a great happy hour featuring their signature backyard pigtails. So come in today for the best barbecue in Jacksonville. And don't forget that homemade banana pudding.